Welcome, everyone. I'm here with Nico Martens, and he's been a friend for several years now. He is the global distributor for one of the global distributors for the Cosmic Tower, working with the Wellness Enterprise. And I'm just excited to have Nico here because I really want to give you guys a Cosmic Tower update. For those of you who are new to the Cosmic Towers, Nico's going to share who and what they are, and then give you an update on where we're at and how many Cosmic Towers are harmonizing discordant energies across the globe. So take it away, Nico.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Susie. And I don't even recall when we talked last, but a lot has happened. The cosmic towers are getting out there. We're having about 26,000 of them globally. And as you know, the really big towers are the ones that systemically work to support nature and to build a grid of harmonious energy. And for those, we have about over 800 in Europe of those large towers. And in the US, we're up to close to 50 of the large towers.
Amazing. One in each state. I know, probably not, but that would be cool.
No, it's interesting because you know how consciousness typically is higher, closer to the coastlines. It's the same with the towers. Like we have many more like at the coastlines, and it forms like a U shape through the US. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Can you talk a little bit about the science of that and how the harmonics work in a U shape? Is that something that you can share?
No, I just mean if you put them out on the map,
Yeah.
right? You see the coastlines have a lot of big towers now. And I know when they were looking into like levels of consciousness, that typically the consciousness was much higher at the
Okay.
coastlines than in the center of the country. And I forget who did that. And I think it has something to do with the proximity to the oceans, you know.
I was thinking there might be significance to the shape of how the towers are being spread across the US. I was thinking there might be some kind of harmonic significance to having them in the shape of a U.
Maybe there is. I don't know, but I think it also definitely has to do with the population areas,
Yeah.
right? The center, in the center of the United States in the north, and it's not that densely populated,
Yeah.
as the coastlines.
Yeah. Yeah. They know where they're needed. They know where they need to go. So
Yeah, they go where they need to be. Yes.
for those who aren't familiar, even with the Cosmic Towers, they're brand new to this. Why don't you give us a 101 class, the Cosmic Towers 101?
Yeah, I mean, you live in Sedona. You're very familiar with power spots, and I think most of your audience is too, right? They're often referred to as vortexes. And these are natural places in nature where you have a harmonious energy present. And this energy actually is created by underwater crossings, underground water crossings of living, healing water that's tens of thousands of years old or older. And that, if you imagine two of those crossing, it generates a vortex, which is actually a toroidal field when it completes. Now, the best way to explain the cosmic tower is it functions on exactly the same principle. So it uses water, it uses special combination of healing waters, living water that has the full rainbow spectrum, the full light spectrum present in the water, and then it gets activated to create the toroidal field. So it's really like bringing a sacred power spot into your home and into your environment. And you're lucky living in Sedona. You can just walk out the door and you're in a power spot. But for people in urban areas, this is a solution that they can bring into their home to create harmony, which then has many benefits, right, for all levels of our being, but also most importantly for all life, within its range. It's not just to help humans or to deal with EMF, but it's really to uplift all of life and support the plants and support nature and the animals and the land, because we're not separate from nature. I always tell people, and a lot of people are focused on their health. I always tell them you can only get as healthy as nature is, because we have an intimate relationship with nature.
A good point.
And yeah, so it really provides that energy also into urban areas for people, so they can live a more harmonious life and actually spread harmony
Yeah.
around them.
I want to ask a little bit more about that, because just because there's a vortex in nature doesn't mean that it's necessarily all positive or
Mhm.
amplifying all positive energy. So how do we know that the cosmic towers are emanating, what we call positive energy, beneficial, harmonizing energy?
Yeah, there's a few different ways, and like yourself, you're intuitive. You can feel energy. Probably a lot of your audience is like that, and you can just feel it. You have that same feeling as when you go to a power spot in nature. For those that are more scientifically based, as you know, with subtle energy or science, mainstream science doesn't even acknowledge that such things exist, like life force and subtle energies. But there are sciences, like I'm in Egypt right now, here in Luxor, where there's all the temples. Clearly, the older civilizations, the more advanced civilizations, knew about this and knew how to interact with these sacred power spots, and they had ways of measuring and determining what energies were present where. And then that work was actually continued in the 1900s, especially the French and the Germans. It's called physical radiesthesia, which is a way of measuring subtle energy qualities. Personally, I studied a lot of biogeometry by Dr. Ibrahim Karim, which provides you with the tools and the knowledge to help um, to help measure the qualities of these energies. Because when people first wake up to subtle energies, or become more aware of them, it can be hard to determine which ones are positive versus which ones are negative energies or detrimental energies. Physical radiesthesia uses tools to determine what type of energy is being emanated. So that's one way of measuring it. Another way of measuring it, and then also with more traditional science, we can measure the indirect effects the tower has. For example, if you take photos of water structures, right? If you have water, I mean, most people are familiar with the work of Masaru Emoto, and that shows that you can clearly see if life force is present in water, or if, for example, you're taking tap water that's subjected to all these EMFs. You can see that then the structures are not harmonious. So you can actually see it with the towers. If you take pictures of tap water, you take a sample without it being exposed to a cosmic tower, and then you see what you would expect in a city: no life force present and a lot of distortion. And then when you put it with a cosmic tower for a few minutes, you can see these beautiful structures return to the water, which indicates that the water is vital, that the water is alive, and that the water is beneficial. And then there's other ways, there's ways to measure the biofield of human beings. There's technologies. I think Korotkov from Russia, he did a lot of work on that. So you can actually see before and after with people when you measure their biofield. That there is a reduction in stress and an increase in life force and energy.
That's so cool. I know there are a lot of technologies that cropping up that have been around, and some now becoming more mainstream, that measure these types of things. So I think it's really neat to have those kind of more objective measurements because not everyone's as
Yes.
sensitive as I am. Not everyone's intuitive, So
Yes.
I think it's good to have both.
Hmm. Yeah, and then also, we have 26,000 of them out there. I mean, we get, tons of, reviews from people and feedback how it has changed their life. And some people feel the towers, some do not, depending on their level of sensitivity. But those that are not as, attuned to these energies actually notice that their life becomes more harmonious and their relationships. And for me, I love plants and animals, especially plants, because there's no placebo effect with plants. You provide a harmonious environment, an environment full of life force, plants thrive, or plants that weren't doing well start thriving. And
Yep. Well, I think you've heard this story before, but for those who haven't, I stewarded a 220 tower in my home for 9 months. And during that time, my plants all started growing to the tower. Now in Sedona, there's another large tower. And I was just curious, would my plants start growing in that direction? And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I do have a plant. The direction is starting to change. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep my eye on that. It's
that's very interesting. Yeah.
interesting, right? Like the intelligence of nature, plants, knows, hey, there's something beneficial over there. Let me get closer to that.
Mhm. Yes, nature is really ultimate intelligence, and it's self-balancing, right? And it will shape itself towards where it can thrive, right?
Yeah. Do you have any testimonials of the cosmic towers breaking up chemtrails?
Um, we've had some people that comment on it, but one of the things is there's a big difference between actually dealing with the vapors that are in the air and whatever else is in there, and harmonizing that versus getting rid of the trails altogether.
Yeah.
And that's an important distinction. So there's a harmonization that takes place that harmonizes the toxicity of the chemtrails, but that does not mean that you will no longer see them or that they cannot stick, right?
Right. So interesting. Yeah, share some other things with us that people have noticed when they either brought one into their home or
Mhm.
they met a tower and an experience they had. Just some testimonials that people can understand what they might experience if they decide to steward a tower.
It's very individual, right? Because no two of us are the same. It's the same as if you do any other spiritual practices. Everybody's going to have their own different experience that is valid for them. But in general, uh, most people are stuck in their sympathetic nervous systems continuously. We're in fight or flight because we're continuously being bombarded with toxicity, not only in the water, in the food, but also the EMFs, geopathic stress, and all sorts of other things that the body perceives as an attack. Right. And what happens is for a lot of people, when they bring the tower in their home and it harmonizes the entire environment, finally the body, their being is able to let go. It's safe again to go into the rest and digest and into the parasympathetic. And you're a healer, and you know that no healing can take place unless people are in their parasympathetic nervous system. So the way that shows for a lot of people is things that resolve within them, but what we get a lot is like, I haven't slept this well in a long time, because it's the same for sleep. If your being doesn't feel safe because it continuously feels attacked, it's very difficult to get into that relaxed state and get really deep sleep. So that's something we hear on a regular basis, how well people sleep and how rejuvenated they feel. We have a lot of testimonials about plants, trees or plants that weren't doing well, and the tower um, gets introduced into a home, and all of a sudden the plants start thriving. And just in general, people experience more harmonious relationships. And that doesn't mean that it's all easy and positive. As you know, things have to come to the surface that need to be resolved. So that happens too, but it happens in a more graceful way.
Wow.
And yeah, there's tons, and we have tons of them on our websites. But yeah, ultimately, I see it as, because people always ask, can a cosmic tower heal this? Can it heal that? I was like, cosmic tower doesn't heal anything. It just provides a harmonious environment. And when you provide your body, your being, with a harmonious environment, we already have the intelligence within.
Yeah.
And people start noticing shifts in their health, and not only on the physical, but also on the emotional and on the mental layer, and with easier connection to the spiritual layers. So people that meditate notice, that experienced meditators, that when they have a tower, it's much easier to drop much deeper, much quicker, which is really valuable these days, especially if you live in a city. It can take you, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. You get to that state and you're with a tower, and people get there in 5 minutes.
Can you
And
explain?
more vivid dreams, more of a connection to their higher self, making it easier to access their guidance. Then a lot of healers that use them, because, as a healer, it's challenging if your environment is full of distortion. Right, you have to clear that. You have to create that sacred space. But then also people come to you, and you have to make sure you stay clear. You don't have to make sure that the people you treat leave something behind that stays in the space. So a lot of healers spend so much time these days to keep their own field and to keep the environment that they practice in clear. And that's where the cosmic tower really shines, because it's like a big ally to help make that a lot easier.
That's amazing. Okay. I know we're talking about self science here, but can you explain from a scientific perspective how that works? How does one go from getting a cosmic tower and then they start sleeping better, their relationships improve, their space is clear? Like what is happening with the water molecules in the environment? What is happening energetically that enables all of that?
Yeah, well, all is energy. You hear that all the time, right? And most of the energy is unseen, right? We have the physical world, all these objects around me, everything at at the core, it's energy, right? So what happens is, when you harmonize all these subtle energies, basically meaning returning them into alignment with nature, then living organisms can thrive. So it works at the same principle as the sacred power spots in nature do. So when you create a toroidal field, right, so like this donut shape, everything's made up of toroidal fields and subtle energy, all the way from the electron to the universe itself. You can see it everywhere in nature. If you cut open an apple or a tomato, you can see the toroidal field in there, and how it shapes everything. So when you create that toroidal field, it emanates out, and it harmonizes everything back into alignment with nature. And the way you can think about that is, if you have a scale that's out of balance, from a traditional science point of view, they will tell you have to add weight to get everything into balance, or remove weight. Think of like something like the cosmic tower or harmonization, shifting the center point again to where actually everything comes back into balance. And then everything runs on life force in the entire universe. And science doesn't acknowledge life force, but everything in our universe is animated by life force. You know, the galaxies moving, planets moving around stars, it's all by life force. Our bodies, everything we see in this world, it's all animated by life force. And when we provide an environment where there is a lot of life force, that provides a lot of fuel, you know, for our being to do what it needs to do to keep things in balance and to keep things running.
So the toroidal field is structuring our environment. It's providing a container for a clean energy.
Yeah, it's I would say it's returning it to nature.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we back to an earlier question where we talked about positive or negative energy. The clean energy that comes from the cosmic tower is part of that from the special water that's inside of the tower.
Yeah, that's absolutely a part of it. So as I said earlier, there's living water in there that has the full rainbow spectrum
Yeah.
available. Think of it of all the frequencies of light that we need to thrive. And then, yeah, when you activate that toroidal field, these qualities are being spread through the environment. They're available. And maybe you need a particular, you know, vibration in the spectrum, or you could think of it of a particular color. Just think of that being available for you to, you know, to tune into or to receive, to where it balances everything out again.
I'd love to drink some of that water. I know that you talked about Harold, the guy who originally invented these, that he had gotten a bunch of this special water. Can you tell us where it's from, or is that's like top secret? I'm not sure.
No, it's not top secret. I mean, there's two different sources. One of them is in Germany, and one of them is in Turkey.
Oh,
That
cool.
they get the water from. They went through 600 plus water samples to find out which ones could be combined to get this full spectrum of light in it, and without having any overlap, because if you have overlap, it's either going to cancel out or it's going to over amplify. So they figured out which ones to put together to where you have that full rainbow spectrum
That sounds like a
available.
tedious job. But
Yeah,
that,
it was done intuitively. His son was really intuitive and was born with these abilities to see subtle energy, and he was able to figure it out. But then later, it was tested with people that do radiesthesia, and they then confirmed that the full spectrum is available in the water.
amazing. That's just so I don't know the word, but like if we can bring that water through the towers and the crystals in the towers, if we can bring that all across the globe and create this harmonious network, just the power of that, and not to give the cosmic towers all of the credit, because we as humans also need to do our work to hold those frequencies too. I want to acknowledge that. But it is nice that we have this kind of support to create
Yes,
a supportive environment to do our inner work.
you're. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I actually believe all of us, we're going to create the new grid. We are the new grid. We are the harmonizers,
Yes.
right? And but it's taking some time. Some people are further down the path than others, but it's really nice to have some training wheels and to have that support, as you say, to help us get there. Right? But you're absolutely correct. The cosmic towers are not here to do it all for us. Neither are the ETs or the angelics or whatever.
Right.
It's up to us,
Right.
right? But it's nice to have support.
I don't know if you remember this conversation from before I got my cosmic tower, my personal one, years ago. My question was, I was skeptical because I was like, is this going to take over somehow, me doing my inner work? Like,
Mhm.
I believe in my personal responsibility. So I don't want anything that's going to interfere with that. I don't know if you remember my skepticism.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely do now.
But I really tuned in and I prayed about it. And it was like, no, this is a beneficial thing. And I was like, okay. So I bought one. And,
Mhm.
the rest is history. But
Mhm.
I will share when I had the large tower in my space that I was having issues with my next door neighbor. He was just loud at night, all hours of the night, walking around, banging on things. I don't know what he was doing, but it was too much. I'm a light sleeper, I'm sensitive. It was just a lot of energy moving, a lot of noise. And I asked the tower, can you help with this? Like, my efforts have not been successful in changing any behavior or changing the situation. Can you help with this?
Mhm.
Because I was told you could ask the tower to help with certain
Mhm.
things. And I was like, well, why not? Maybe it won't, but doesn't hurt to ask. And
Yeah.
don't you know it? Within a few weeks, things had settled down tremendously. And I was like, oh, okay. I believe in the
Yeah.
harmonizing energy.
We actually get that a lot. People commenting about their neighbors, right? Because think about it, the neighbors are also being bombarded with all these energies and are being irritated, or they have anxiety, or they have depression, right? That is then at the root of all the behavior that you're the recipient of, right? So that's the beauty of it with a field that also affects the neighbors. They also, come into more balance, or they have an opportunity to come into more balance. And then we also had a few cases where the neighbors left. It's like when you're on your spiritual journey, and for lack of a better term, you start raising your vibration. We talk about vibing out certain people. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So that happens also. So either, yes, a lot of people see that things are getting better, or they just one day decide to up and leave,
Can't
because
take
that's not the energy that they want to be in. They're
it.
still attached to the drama, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, to the
No, that's very
distortions.
real.
And then, when that falls away, then all of a sudden they feel called to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Either way, it's resolved.
That's wild. I look at the cosmic towers as not just a personal gift that we can give ourselves, but also a service opportunity for
Mhm.
nature, for the people around us, for the plants, for our pets, all the things that we have around us. And if you live in a city and you don't have plants, it's a, an opportunity to serve that area with raising the frequency. Because
It's absolutely,
when you're creating
you're absolutely correct.
harmonization, you're raising the frequency.
Yeah, and that's why I got so drawn to it, because it wasn't about, oh, let me just protect me and my family from EMFs, but it actually included nature in the equation, which was really important
Yeah.
for me. Recognizing that if nature doesn't thrive, we cannot thrive. We are nature, we're an integral part of nature, we're all interconnected. And when we change the individual, we change the collective. When we become more harmonious, everywhere we walk, we harmonize. Not only human beings, but all of life. And that's ultimately where I see the future going, that so many of us, with the help of the towers and other things, will be these harmonizers on the planet. And really, I think, come back to our natural alignment,
Mm.
which is we don't own this planet. We don't own the resources, to sell and to really, yeah, cannibalize nature. No, we are nature, and we have to be caretakers again for natures versus just these endless consumers. I mean, look in a lifetime, if you just talk about EMF, how much resources and money people spend. cell phones, internet bills, cell phone bills, smart this, smart that. And we spend so much of our life force, of our money, on things that kill us, that things that kill us, that kill the people we love, that kill our environment. So this is a way for us to be part of the solution versus just being endless consumers and destroying the planet, and with it all of us.
I have this vision of putting like minis or 35s around bees, around beehives.
Yes.
How cool would
Hmm.
it be to take some 35s and be able to put them around beehives? I know
Yeah, we
that's
actually
supposed to be.
donated one to a lady in England that is working with the bees. The cool thing about the Cosmic Tower is that there's a lot of groups that take, that really want to support nature, the environment, the lakes, or even the bees, and they go look for themselves how they can do this and how they can do it together with the tower.
I love that.
Mhm.
Let's talk about another important conversation, which is protecting ourselves from EMFs versus harmonizing.
Yes. Yeah, that's really important because you cannot really shield EMF. You can do it. I mean, you can do the electromagnetic frequencies, you could shield some of that, but there's also a subtle energy component. Often people talk about scalar waves that will travel right through whatever you're using to block out the electromagnetic frequencies. And these distorted energies affect all layers of your being, and there is no way you can block them out. So harmonization is not about blocking out particular energies. It's about changing the qualities of the energies that are there. So if you look at a cosmic tower and you have, for example, a 5G tower, and you can measure the electromagnetic energies. I mean, you can measure the strength of the field, but mainstream science and our instruments cannot tell you anything about the quality of the field.
Right.
Right, and that's an important distinction. So that's why we have, sciences like radiesthesia that actually, rather than saying how strong is that field, it asks how does that field affect a living organism. Does it take my life force away or does it give me life force? And that's the principle of harmonization, which is that we change the quality of the energy to where it's no longer detrimental to living organisms, but it's actually at least neutral or even beneficial. And I think that's the only way we can deal with this whole EMF conundrum, because you can't run from it. We have 5G satellites everywhere. These energies are present everywhere, so we have to work with it. And I think it also goes into deeper spiritual principles, which is bringing things back into alignment with nature, recognizing the interconnectedness of everything. I think a lot of the reasons why we're in the situation that we're in is because we see ourselves separate from the environment. Once we realize that everything is interconnected, that each and every one of us affect the collective affects us, and we affect nature, nature affects us. Recognizing that interconnectedness, that allows us to then harmonize, because the blocking, it's another way to like try to fight energies. And what you fight, you make stronger. What you resist, you persist. But if you look at the true masters, they don't fight something. They just use their field, their source connection, their source of harmony, to transmute those energies to where they're beneficial versus detrimental.
Beautiful. Whew. I'm just still taking that in, even though we've had this conversation many times, not necessarily you and I, but I've heard you talk about this many times. And a lot of people are still so stuck on we got to shield, we got to protect ourselves, we got to shield. And I get it. Look, I still fall into that sometimes myself, but
Mhm.
I love this concept of contributing to nature. Me as a person, me, Susie, I can contribute, and I can contribute something beneficial or something detrimental, but either way, I'm contributing. And so, with the help of the cosmic towers, we can contribute all that much more to
Absolutely.
make our space better. So, just some logistical concerns or questions. If someone wants to steward a cosmic tower, what size should they get? And does that depend on their intention of how they want to use it? Talk to us a little bit about the different sizes and how people should make that decision.
Yeah, you have three categories. So you have the mini, and the mini is mainly for travel. It's designed to protect you, protect you, harmonize you while you're outside.
No,
See, we all say
ubiquitous.
it. To harmonize your field and keep things harmonious while you're outside of the range of your larger tower. And it's designed in a way that it only has so much water in it that you can take it in a carry-on on a plane. And that's the mini, and that's the smallest one, and it doesn't have a big range around you, maybe like 20-25 feet around you. And then there's the ones for homes and families, and then we have the 35 and the 75. And the 35 goes about 100 yards around your location, and the 75 about 400 to 600 yards. And the reason I cannot give you an exact number, it shows the way we have to look at this, because no two energetic environments are the same. If you live in a city, in New York City, for example, there's way more distortion, than there is out in nature. If you live in a little village somewhere, or when I'm here in Egypt where there's no 5G here in Luxor, that's a very different energetic environment. So as far as the size, don't look as much as the coverage. People are like, will it cover my home? Yeah, the 35 and the 75 will. But where do you live? So the 75 is 6 times more powerful than the 35, because it's sort of an exponential scale. So you really, if you're in a city where there's a lot of 5G, then the 75 is a better option because it has 6 times more power in a way to create that bubble. And or maybe you live in a little town somewhere out in nature, or an area that's not as densely populated with not that much distortion, then a 35 will do for you. And these are for the home, and they're really, they harmonize the EMFs, they structure the water, they increase the life force, but they also are here to help you with your own development, to release things that no longer serve you, stuck emotions, to help you shift your mind, to help you have a better connection with your higher self and your guidance. That's really what those towers are for. And then there's the large towers, like you had the 220, and then there's an even larger one, the 250, like the one in Sedona now. And those are really focused on the environment. So, they go about 250 miles or more than 300 miles in radius, where they structure the water, they harmonize detrimental energies, and they form a grid that systemically helps to deal with all these challenges that we're dealing with. And also they form a network that helps the smaller towers. So they actually help to offload, some of the work from the smaller towers. So those are the big towers, and those are the ones that really got me excited. Does that mean that, for example, for Phoenix, you get one large tower and everything is harmonized within a 250-mile radius? No, because you have to look at the total amount of distorted energy, if you want to call it that, and how much one big tower brings in. So you might need a couple dozen, for a city like LA, for example, to harmonize it. But yeah, so that's kind of the family. So people that want to have support for their family, that want to create a more harmonious environment at home or for the neighbors, they can get the 35 or the 75, and those that really feel called and that recognize that we're not separate from nature and want to do their part or help support nature and the planet as a whole. Those are the people that get the larger towers.
I love that. And I think that you can only get a mini if you get one of the larger towers because it doesn't sustain itself on its own.
It does sustain itself on its own. It's nothing to do with that part. It's just that if you only get the mini, there's not enough energy to give you all the benefits, like helping you to rebuild your aura and have a surplus of life force available for healing. It's really designed to, if you leave your home where you might have a larger tower, to make sure you're not degrading all the way back to where you were. So it's not a functionality thing that the mini wouldn't function on its own. It's more that we want people to have a great experience and to get the right size of tower for them to have that experience.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that correction. Um, yeah, and there was another question I was going to ask, and now it's eluded me. But I know that you have a special offer for those watching this video and for the people in my community for a little holiday bundle. So why don't you share with us what people get? And I will look in the description, you guys. I'll put the link down there.
Yeah, so for people that are interested in a 75, they will actually get the mini for free when they purchase a 75. And for those that are interested in the 35, they get the mini at half price. And then if anybody is called for a bigger tower, we have some specials there too. But always contact us, because we really want to get those big towers out there, and we do whatever we can to make sure it works for people and that we work things out in a way that supports them, and to be able to do this.
That's beautiful. And you guys, just a word on the wellness enterprise. I've known Patrick for, gosh, almost a decade now, and I've known Nico for several years. And the way they run their company is not like a normal business. Their hearts are in this. They're not doing this to make lots of money. They're doing this to support our planet and to harmonize, to harmonize, you guys. So when you're looking at the cosmic towers, and if you want to make a purchase, maybe you can't afford it, or maybe you need to make a payment plan or whatever it is, talk to them, reach out to them. My experience is that they want to work with you. So don't hold yourself back. If this is something you feel called to, reach out and see what can be done, see what kind of arrangement can be made. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but I've known Patrick for a while. I know this is how the wellness enterprise operates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're correct. So don't hesitate to reach out. We always make sure we work with people to do this that are called.
And if you guys have questions about the cosmic towers, feel free to reach out to the wellness enterprise. Feel free to drop comments below. If I can't answer them, I'll enroll Nico or Patrick to answer your questions for you. And Nico, before we part ways today, is there anything else you want to share about the cosmic towers, or anything we haven't covered that you feel is really important that people should know?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. So we're just excited to get more towers out there to help build this grid, and this is an important time.
Yeah, this is.
And it's for all of us. We have to choose. I feel like we're at a fork in the road, and we have to choose. And for me, it's clear. My alignment is with nature. It's with source, whatever you want to call it. And there's people going down another track. And I want to tell people, don't get so wrapped up in what you see out there in the world, because as the energies are rising, so are all the polarities.
Yes.
Right? But ultimately, as we shift our consciousness and we become this harmonizing presence in our planet, I think we're looking at an amazing future. And I think that's important to remind people of that, because so many people these days get so down and they just get so caught up in everything that is going on. And I always tell people, when you're looking out there, you're actually already looking at the past. You're looking at the sum totals of all our thoughts, all our decisions, all our feelings before. So it's just informing us what we have created. We are creator beings. So we're not going to get out of this with fighting this and fighting that, because it's a matter of focus. What we get to put our focus on, we invite more in. So it's time for us to step, all of us, in our roles as co-creators, and really hold our awareness, really create resonance with what it is that we do want for this planet. And then I think we're looking at at an amazing future.
Love that. I couldn't have said it better myself. I do have another question actually that I thought of about AI, and can the cosmic towers help to harmonize what's happening with AI? I know it's kind of a big question, but I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, we're actually tackling that in different ways with like a group of people. But yeah, I hadn't even thought about using the cosmic towers for that. Yeah, that's a great question. Sorry, I don't have a clear answer for
We'll
you. I gotta think. I
do a
gotta sit
we'll
with
do a
that
third
one.
video once you get more information about that. Yeah.
Yes,
It
absolutely. But hey, we all have this organic intelligence within us. We all have this source connection, and some people are gonna want to go down the AI path and basically give more and more of their power away, while others are going to come deeper into this source connection and connecting to nature's intelligence, and that source connection. I mean, for me, it's just much more available than ever. It's easier in a way to drop into as the consciousness is shifting. And just know that each and everyone listening, as you shift your consciousness, it it has a tremendous effect. It ripples throughout the world,
yes.
because 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2 with consciousness. When we have a small, because everybody's always, but how are we going to convince all these other people? No, we don't really have to.
Correct.
You have to look within and raise your vibration, if you want to call it that, or expand your consciousness to a certain level. And even with a relatively small group of people, we can completely shift our world and our reality. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Prime Creator said 100 people. We need 100 people. This was a long time
Okay.
ago, but 100 people holding the same frequency, the same vision, the same, I forget everything now, but
Wow.
uh, that if we have 100 people, that's where it starts. And obviously we want a lot more than that, but 100 people can make a substantial difference, more than we might think.
Hey, I'm in.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nico. It's an absolute pleasure to talk with you, and I'm grateful for the internet that it stayed strong for us as you're in
Oh,
Egypt and so many unknowns. Uh, but I'm really grateful for the cosmic towers and the network that we're setting up around the planet to harmonize and support elevated frequency. Let's go.
well, thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all your support and everything you've done to help the project. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Nico.